In this video, I'm going to teach you how to get $100,000 in business funding with only one hard inquiry on each of your credit reports. Let's begin. When applying for funding, you need to make sure you have a funding sequence. Now, a funding sequence is just a fancy way of saying that you have a list of banks that you strategically put together to fit whatever funding goal that you have. Whether that's to apply for cards with a certain 0% APR period, or applying for cards that will give you the most return on daily spend within your business, having a funding sequence is crucial to ensure we're using the inquiries we'll get on our credit report wisely. In our case, because we want $100,000 in business funding with one hard inquiry, this means when we create our funding sequence, we need to get a list of banks that pull from Experian, a list of banks that pull from Equifax, and a list of banks that pull from TransUnion. Because if we have 3 banks, but all 3 pull from TransUnion, that's not only going to hurt our TransUnion credit report, but it's also going to negatively impact the total amount of business funding we can get access to. But in the same situation, if we have 3 banks and each of them pull from the respective credit reporting agencies, that's what allows us to get the $100,000 in funding with only one hard inquiry. Speaking of inquiry, if you're interested in inquiring about getting your credit restored so you can leverage the information that's in this video to get access to business funding, then head over to my company's website at takeoffinancial.com to book a free consultation today. But back to the video. All right, so now that we know what a funding sequence is and what role it plays in us getting access to capital, now it's time to get to the bag. So what I'll do, I'll provide you with a funding sequence you can implement today, and if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll even give you a database that you can leverage to find additional banks and lenders beyond the ones that I'll mention on this video. So the first bank you want to go to is KeyBank. KeyBank will approve you for up to $50,000 on any of their business credit card products, and they're only going to do a soft inquiry on your Equifax report. So that means that they are going to check your Equifax report to approve or deny you for the funding, but they won't leave a hard inquiry on there like most banks and lenders do. The next bank that you're going to go to after that is PNC Bank. Now, PNC is a bank that pulls from Experian, and they'll approve you for anywhere between $15,000 to $20,000 in business funding. Now, they're going to do a hard pull on your Experian, but they also have what is called a no-doc funding program. But what does that mean? So no-doc basically means that whenever you apply for funding, that bank is going to go off of whatever was stated on your business funding application, and they won't ask for any additional verifying documents like bank statements, tax returns, etc. Then after PNC, you're going to head to your third bank, which is BMO Bank. BMO Bank is also another no-doc funding bank, and they do a hard pull from TransUnion. So now we officially have our funding sequence, right? We have one bank that pulls from each of the credit reporting agencies, so that must mean it's time for us to go and get funded, right? Well, not quite. Now, while you can get a substantial amount of funding from just these 3, let's take things a step further to ensure we get the largest bag. How do we do that? Well, let's go back and take a look at KeyBank. Now, if you remember, we can get approved from KeyBank for up to $50,000 in business funding without getting a hard inquiry on our Equifax report, right? So that means we still have an untouched inquiry slot on our Equifax report that we can use to go to another bank for even more funding. Then let's take a look at PNC. PNC pulls from Experian, and what most people may or may not know is that there's a secret number that you can call into, which I'll place on screen right now, to have your inquiries removed from your Experian credit report in 24 to 72 hours. Now, because the business account we've opened with PNC doesn't reflect on our report, this means we can have the inquiry removed without any risk of closing the business credit account. Meaning we can hit 2 banks that pull from Equifax, 2 that pull from Experian, and 1 that pulls from TransUnion that will give us 5 banks that we can go to. And since I've already given you the first 3, allow me to give you the final 2 as well. The next bank that you're going to go to is Truist Bank. Now with Truist, they do a hard inquiry on your Equifax report. However, here's the catch. Truist is going to give you an inquiry on your Equifax report, but they're going to allow you to get multiple credit cards under that one inquiry. I personally know individuals who have gotten up to 2 business credit cards with Truist off of that one inquiry, and even people that have gotten as many as 3 credit cards off that one inquiry. So this is a major hack that you can use. And then from there, the 5th and final bank will be American Express, which does a hard pull on your Experian report. Now you can go to American Express towards the end of any funding sequence you put together because number 1, Amex really doesn't weigh inquiries that heavily into their approval process as other banks do. And number 2, with Amex, once you apply for funding with them once, they keep that inquiry in the system and you never have to get a hard inquiry on your credit report again to apply for additional funding products in the future. So that's 2 banks that pull from Experian, 2 that pull from Equifax, and 1 that pull from TransUnion. And if you're able to secure at least $20,000 from each of these banks, that will bring you to a grand total of $100,000 in business funding using one inquiry on each of your reports. And as promised, if you don't want to leverage any of these banks, here's a direct resource you can use to find banks in your area to create your own funding sequence. The name of the resource is called bankbranchlocator.com. With this resource, you can find banks and lenders within 1, 5, 10, or 25 miles of whatever city or state that you're in, along with their direct phone number and hours of operations, so you can form a relationship with those respective banks. You're welcome. That's all for this video, and as always, family, don't forget to head over to takeoffinancial.com by clicking the link in the description to book a call with my team about getting your credit restored. Until next time, family, peace.